Hey everyone, thanks so much for stumbling across this channel. I am going to read Fari the Donkey, which is a fairy tale from the African country Senegal. I think it's important to do this because I can only find this story in French in a book called The Tales of Amadou Kouamba. If you're interested in that book, because it's full of fairy tales from Senegal, there's a link in the description below. But keep in mind that the book is in French, unless there is an English version somewhere. But the point of this video is to take that French story and translate it into English, because, as we all know, you can't just throw a bunch of text in Google Translate and hope to get something that is extremely meaningful. You can maybe get the subtleties of what they're saying, but I wanted this to be very, very easy for someone who knows English to understand. No roadblocks. Alright, well once again, thanks for coming, and here we go. Fari the Donkey. He would make his point with subtlety so that he could surprise it with you later. That was the personality of Amadou Kouamba, whose stories I will retell here, and, no doubt, whose biography I will also one day tell. Often, at a word from one of us, he would take us far, far back in time. Simple things too, like a passing man or the gesture of a woman, would bring up from his memory tales and words of wisdom that his grandfather's grandfather had learned from his grandfather. We passed along the southern road and saw the carcasses scoured clean by scavengers and corpses in all stages of decay. The corpses and carcasses were of the donkeys that brought loads of colas from the coast to Sudan. Ah, poor donkeys, I said. Look what they're going through. You pity them too? Replied Amadou Kouamba. It is their fault they are where they are today. If the donkeys are the slaves of slaves. Wait. Think of it like this. If orders, like the taxes and services of Dakar fall, after having passed from the governor to the district commander, from the district commander to the canton chief, without forgetting the interpreter, from the head of canton to the head of the village, from the head of the village to the head of the family, from the head of the family onto the donkey's spine with cudgels. Well, okay, as in the old days, because really nothing's changed. From Daniel, the king, to Lamens, vice-kings. From Lamens to Dambor's freemen. From Dambor's to low-status bobolos. From batelos to slaves of slaves. If the donkey is where it is today, it is because it looked for it. You see, in those ancient times, very ancient, back when the donkeys had not yet lost the memory, like the animals of today, the donkeys lived free in a country where nothing was lacking. What was their first mistake they committed? No one has ever known it, and no one may ever know it. Still, one day, a great drought devastated that country and brought a famine. After endless advice and squabbling, it was decided that Queen Fari and her retinue would go in search of less desolate lands, a more hospitable region in a nourishing country. And it was so, in the kingdom of Ingwar, where men lived, that Fari decided to stop because the harvests seemed more beautiful than in any other country. But how to get all of these good things that belong to men without risk? At first, Fari thought that she should make herself a man. But does man willingly give to his fellow man what already belongs to him? That what he has obtained by the sweat of his own arms? Fari was skeptical. Next, Fari thought about becoming a woman. She knew that since the beginning of time, men had never refused to give anything to a woman. He would not even beat her unless he was as mad as a mad dog. So, Fari decided to remain female, but to metamorphosize into a human. Her entire retinue followed suit and also became human women. Nar, the Moor of the King of Ingwar, was perhaps the only subject in the kingdom to sincerely practice the religion of the Quran, for he had to prove himself worthy of his own ancestors, who had introduced Islam into the country by force. Nar was different from the others because of his white skin, and also by the fact that he could not keep even the smallest of secrets. By the way, just as an aside, this is why we still say today that a reporter has swallowed a Moor. Pretty interesting, huh? Anyway, Nar was very devout, and he did not miss any of the 5 prayers of the day. You can imagine his astonishment when one morning, on his way to do his ablutions at Lake Ingwar, to find many women bathing there. There was one woman surrounded by the others, who had so much radiance that even the rising sun was tarnished. Nar forgot ablutions and prayers and came running to wake up Bor, the King of Ingwar. I swear to God, if I lie, have my neck cut off. I just found a woman at the lake whose beauty cannot be described. Come to the lake, Bor, come. She is only worthy of you. Bor accompanied his Moor to the lake and brought back the beautiful woman and her retinue. Fari became his favorite wife. You know, people love alone time, because only then can they be their true selves. Man is not the only one to suffer from this misfortune. The donkey, among other creatures, are the same way. This is why Fari and her retinue, who should have lived happily and without worry at the court of the king, grew exhausted and more bored every day. They lacked everything that brings joy and happiness to a donkey's nature: braying, farting, rolling on the ground, and kicking. One day, Fari asked King Bor for permission to go swimming at the lake every day at dusk because of the extreme heat. Of course, the king gave his permission freely. Fari was his favorite, after all. Every evening, they picked up the calabashes, mastices, and the dirty utensils and went to the lake, where they threw off their boo-boos and loincloths. They entered the water singing, Fari hee-haw, Fari hee-haw, Fari is a donkey. Where is Fari, the queen of the donkeys, who emigrated and did not come back? As they sang, they transformed into donkeys. They ran out of the water to kick, roll in the dirt, and fart. No one saw them. The only one who may have seen them was Nar the Moor, because he often left the village at dusk for his ablutions and Timis prayer. Luckily, he had gone on a pilgrimage in Mecca. So, tired and happy, Fari and her retinue transformed into their human bodies and returned to the castle with the calabashes, mastices, and utensils completely scoured. And perhaps things could have gone on forever if Nar had perished along the way, if he had been taken to the east in a Bambara, Pole, or Hausa kingdom and held in slavery, or if he had preferred to stay the rest of his life near the Kaaba to be closer to paradise. But Nar did come back one fine day, and exactly at nightfall. He went to the lake before saluting the king. He saw the women there, and he listened to their song because he was hiding behind a tree. His astonishment was greater than the day he found them, when he saw them change into donkeys. He went to the castle, but he could not bring himself to say anything. He fretted and questioned everything he had learned on his pilgrimage. His secret even got in the way when he tried to eat his couscous and mutton for dinner. But, in the end of the night, he went to wake up King Bor. "Bor, if I lie, have my head cut off. Your dearest woman is not a human. She is a donkey." "What are you talking about, Nar?" the king said. "Have the geniuses touched your head on the road to salvation?" "Tomorrow, Bor, tomorrow. I will prove it to you." The next morning, Nar called the king's griot musician Diali and taught him the song he had heard Fari and her retinue sing the night before. After lunch, Nar told Diali, "When the queen strokes the king's head on her thigh so that he falls asleep, don't sing the song for the glory of dead kings. Instead, play the song I taught you." "Did you learn this song in Mecca?" asked Diali, like any self-respecting griot would. "No," said Nar, "but soon you will see the power of the song." So, Nar walked away and began recounting his pilgrimage so that he could entertain the king. The griot Diali was humming while softly brushing his guitar. Bor had his head on Fari's thigh. He was dozing off. That is when Diali stopped humming and began to sing. "Fari hee ha, Fari hee ha." The queen started. The king opened his eyes. Diali continued. "Fari hee ha, Fari is a donkey." "Oh, Bor," said the queen, "prevent Diali from singing this song." "For what reason, my dear wife? I find it very pretty," said the king. "Well, it's a song Nar learned in Mecca," the griot explained. "I beg you," moaned Fari. "Stop him. It hurts my head. It's a song sung at funerals at home." "That is no reason to silence Diali. Come on." So Diali continued. "Fari is a donkey. Where is Fari, queen of the donkeys, who immigrated and did not come back?" Suddenly, the queen's leg that supported Bor's head stiffened, and under the loincloth appeared a hoof. The other leg transformed, her ears lengthened, her beautiful face changed. Fari was a donkey. She turned from her husband and kicked in the middle of the hut, unhooking Nar's jaw. in the neighboring huts, in the kitchens, in the courtyard, and the kicks and the hee-haw indicated that Fari's subjects had also suffered the same fate as their queen. Like their queen, they were overpowered with cudgels and shackled. Other donkeys, from the original country, were worried about the fate of their queen and their wives. It had been so long since they'd seen them. So they went in search. And when a donkey would pass through the kingdom of Ingwar, they were also shackled. It is because of Fari and what happened in Ingwar that all donkeys are struggling with cudgels and trotting, loaded down and walking, all paths under the sun and under the moon.